Hello. Welcome to the first lecture of the ARCHLine.XP 2024 preliminary course, the Foundation Workshop. Before we start the workshop, let's take a look at the tools you need to download to create the projects you see here. First, download the trial version of the software from our website and install it. Go to the Learn Courses tab on the website, go to the Preliminary Course menu, download the Workshop Projects 2024, and run it on your computer. This contains all the projects that will be used during the lectures. I also recommend downloading the Study Guide 2024. This PDF describes the projects step by step, so you can do them later on your own. Once everything is downloaded and running, let's open ARCHLine.XP and familiarize ourselves with its interface. When you start the program, you will see the home screen, where you will see your recent projects listed on the left. From this list we can delete, if we no longer need any of the projects in the list, or we can fix them. We can delete projects with the Cancel button, and pin them by clicking the thumbtack. Our fixed projects will then be added to the pinned menu. Above that, you can even search by project name, using the search function. On the right you can open a new project. Now we need a completely empty project, so I click on the new project. Before you get started, it's a good idea to save the project now, so you can simply click Save again later. I choose File menu, Save Project, and save it to the ARCHLine.XP Draw 2024 folder that the program automatically creates when we run it on our computer. Save the project to the Preliminary Course folder. We can see that the folder already contains the completed workshop file, but I'm going to create a project under my own name. Let's start getting familiar with the interface. The first thing I want to show you is the header, where you can see the project save path, and the project name. Next is the File menu. Here we find all common file operations like saving, importing, exporting, etc. Below the header is the Quick Access toolbar, where we find all common commands, which can be expanded later. To the right of the Quick Access toolbar is the ribbon bar, where commands are grouped in a logical order, and if we click on commands within the ribbon, we can see additional subcommands. Clicking on the small black arrow reveals a drop-down menu with more commands, and if we hover over a command for a few seconds, a tooltip appears, explaining the use of the command. This ribbon bar can be hidden by clicking on the small white arrow, providing a larger drawing area. Clicking on the search box allows us to search for commands. Let's look at the dashboard on the left side of the window. The dashboard collects the most commonly used commands for a given view, which can be supplemented with its own collection of commands. The advantage of the dashboard is that you can access these commands with a single click. At the bottom, you will find the status bar, which is a fixed bar of the program. Here we find various program settings, Level Manager, View Manager, 3D Hammer, Layer Manager, and several useful commands we will get to know later. On the right is the Project Navigator, which can be used in hidden mode. Clicking on the small thumbtack allows us to hide it, and it will only pop up when we hover over it. Below the submenu is the View Control bar, where you can set different design phases, and select the drawing detail of walls, hatches and lines. To the right, we see a message box, where the program displays brief information about the current command. If we accidentally change or hide something, we can reset the windows to the default settings. To do this, click on the Quick Access toolbar, and choose the Reset Interface to Factory Default command, from the Toolbars menu. For example, we see that the Project Navigator is no longer in hidden mode. I'll reset it, as I will use it during the workshop. Let's move on, and get to know the 2D drawing elements. First, we will get to know the line and polyline commands, from the drafting menu. When I click on the line command, the cursor changes to a pencil. The program also instructs to specify the starting point of the line, so I can place the starting point. I always start drawing near the origin. I place the first point with the left mouse button, then the next point, and continue drawing. The program uses guidelines. If I move the mouse vertically, the guideline turns green, and if horizontally, it turns red. This ensures we can draw straight lines. Additionally, it aligns with notable angles, so if I move the mouse diagonally, it shows the angle, indicated by a grey dashed line. If I move the mouse to the previously placed point without clicking, various guidelines appear, allowing me to complete the line at the same length. To finish drawing the line, I press Enter, and can start drawing the next line. To exit the command, I press the Escape key. Let's look at the polyline, and see the difference between the line and the polyline. I draw a similar polyline, and exit by either pressing Escape or double Enter. Let's examine the differences. Clicking on the line shows it consists of separate segments, while the polyline is a continuous chain. Lines can be merged into a polyline. I click on a line, then on the arrow, and from the local menu I choose Edit, Turn into Polyline, select by chain end. It is now one element. Let's draw some additional shapes, such as a rectangle. I select the Rectangle command, and then draw it with 2 clicks. Let's draw a circle, specifying it by its center point. These shapes can also be easily changed afterwards, by simply entering the desired value. Now let's see how to undo an action in the program. At the top, in the Quick Access toolbar, you'll find the Undo and Redo icons. You can undo up to 16 steps, as that's the limit stored by the program. Let's see how to zoom in and out in the program. By clicking on the minus magnifier on the dashboard, the command scales down the drawing to 70%. Clicking on the plus magnifier, you need to select the area you want to zoom in on by marking it with a rectangle. Additionally, there is the optimal zoom, which adjusts the elements to fit the window size. The quickest and easiest way to zoom is by using the mouse wheel. Scrolling towards myself zooms out the drawing, while scrolling away from myself zooms in. Double-clicking the mouse wheel provides optimal magnification. You can also select individual elements. Selecting a line brings up various markers, and a floating icon, where you can perform different modifications and movements. If you select something, you can see and modify its properties on the left side of the dashboard. Clicking the Delete button, or pressing the Delete key on the keyboard, deletes the selected element. I'll undo the deletion, and show you how to select multiple elements at once. I select the first element I want to choose, then hold down Ctrl and click on additional elements, with the left mouse button. This way, I can select any number of elements in my layout, and later in the 3D view as well. Additionally, you can use rectangular selection. There are 2 types of rectangular selection. If I select elements from left to right, the rectangle is blue, and only the elements fully within the selection window are selected. If I select from right to left, the rectangle is green, and all elements fully within the selection window, as well as those intersected by the window, are selected. You can also select elements based on their type. For example, if I want to select all polylines, I right-click on the command and choose Select All. The program selects all polylines, including the rectangle, as the program considers it a polyline. I'll draw a few more circles, and delete them all at once. I right-click on the Circle command and choose Select All. The program selects all circles, so I can delete them all at once by clicking the red X. Let's look at constraint directions. I start drawing a polyline, and after placing the first point, I hold down Shift on the keyboard. If I move the mouse to the right, the program constrains it to the horizontal direction, ensuring I won't draw a slanted wall. The same works for vertical direction and diagonal angles. It's advisable to save every 10 to 15 minutes, so let's click on the Save Project icon to save the project. Let's delete the unnecessary lines. Now, we will draw a simpler floor plan. Before we start, I'll show you what the floor plan will look like. We'll begin by drawing the main walls, then place some windows and doors, and finally add a few objects at the end of the session. Let's get started, and return to the program. Before we begin drawing, we need to set the properties of the wall. This is true for every other element. Before creating them, we set their properties. We can set the wall properties by clicking on Building menu, Properties, Wall command. The height should be 2700 mm, and the total thickness 380 mm. This is the one-layered 38 wide wall. Later, we will also see how to create custom styles. After setting everything, we accept with OK, and start drawing near the origin by clicking on Wall command. You can see a blue line, which is the wall's reference line, and the program shows the wall thickness in orange. Pay attention to the reference line, as we know the interior dimensions of the wall, so the reference line should be inside, when we draw the wall. We can change the reference line in several ways, either from the menu bar at the top, or by pressing F5, or the space bar. The reference line can be on the right, left, or center. We will need it on the right side now. Let's start drawing. I move the mouse vertically upwards, then use the keyboard to specify the wall size. The first wall length is 7500 mm, so I type 7500 and press enter, and the program creates it. The next wall size horizontally to the right is 5000 mm, then I go vertically downwards 4400 mm, then again to the right 3500 mm. I go downwards 5200 mm, to the left 6400 mm, and then press enter again, and finish the last wall segment by clicking on the first point. To perform the previous step, which is for the program to detect the outer point, we need to enable Object Snap. This allows ARCHLine.XP to mark special points and nodes, making our work more accurate. We can finish drawing. Press Escape to exit the command. Let's save the project again. Let's proceed with dimensioning the main walls. Choose the Annotate, Quick Dimension command. All I need to do is click on the inside of the walls, then drag out the dimension line with the mouse, and place it where I want. Let's do this for all the walls. When we drew the walls, another window appeared showing the 3D model. We can switch between windows, using the Drawing Selector tabs at the top, or by using the Magnify View command. The active window is always the one outlined in blue by the program. Now let's see how we can navigate in the 3D model. The navigation is the same as on the floor plan. I can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel, and if I hold the wheel down, I can move the 3D model. If I right-click and move the mouse, I can look around the model in axonometric view. Let's see what modes of 3D display there are, and what views we can choose from. If nothing is selected in the 3D view, the dashboard shows the type of visual and views. For example, there are top view, left side view, right side view, front view, and notable axonometric views, such as from the southwest, northwest, etc. For visual types, we can see various 3D representations, such as wireframe model, hidden line representation. I usually use consistent color mode and realistic representation. If our model is dark in consistent color mode, we can adjust this under Settings, Graphics, under Ambient Light and Sunlight. I won't change this now. Let's choose the consistent color mode, then go back to the floor plan, and start drawing the partition walls. Before we start, we need to set the properties of the partition wall. We can do this the same way we did with the main wall, or we can create styles. We access styles under the Building, Wall command. Then the saved styles appear on the left dashboard. Here, there is already a one-layered 10-wide wall, but let's see how we can create our own style. Select the 100 mm wall, and choose Manage Styles, Properties. Change the total thickness to 160 mm. By clicking on the name of the one-layered 10-wide wall, the styles appear, and by clicking the New button, I can create my own style. I name it, and select the option to be available in all projects. I accept with OK, and thus my created style is made. Now, however, I need the 100mm wall, so I select it, and start drawing. I click on the corner point of the wall, and want to draw the partition wall. The reference line is in the opposite direction. I need to change it. I can do this from the Path Editing menu, or use the F5 or space key. The next partition wall will be placed 2400mm from the right corner point. For this, I need to set a reference point. The reference point command is at the bottom status bar. I select the wall corner point. I drag the cursor to the left, and enter the distance. Now the reference line is properly set. I click on the opposite wall. I exit the command. Next, we will cover wall connections. The connections are found on the Quick Access toolbar. First, I'll show the T connection. For the T connection, depending on which one I click first, the program will extend that one. So if I click on the vertical wall first, and then on the horizontal one, you can see that it extended the vertical wall. I undo it, and show it the other way around. Let's look at the L connection. I need to click on one wall, then the other, and the program connects them. I undo this too, and show the real T connection. For this, I first extend the length of the wall. For a real T connection, always select the leg of the T first, then the top, and the program will correctly connect them. If we do this the other way around, the program will not connect the walls, but will do the same as shown in the first option. I delete the unnecessary walls. Let's check the View control bar. Here we find the details of the walls, the scale of the openings, and the scale of the line thickness. I select the 120 scale, and now we can see that the line thickness has changed. This won't affect the printing, only the display. I'll revert it back to 1:100. The next thing we'll create is the slab. I'll set the properties in the building, under Properties, Structure, and Slab command. The base offset from the floor is 0, and the total thickness is -300mm. This means the floor level will be at 0, and the slab thickness will extend downwards, in the negative direction. I accept with OK. Let's create the slab using the Slab by Walls tool. I select the entire floor plan, and accept with Enter. In 3D, we can see that the slab has been created under the walls. I'll go back to the floor plan, and now we will modify the slab contour. This will be the entrance, and I want to create a front area by modifying the slab contour. The slab can always be found on the outer contour of the walls, or if clicking doesn't work, we can use the floating icon to select the necessary element. By clicking on the blue edge marker, I choose the Offset command. I drag the mouse outward, and then type 1000, because I want to offset it by 1000mm. I accept with Enter, and it's done. Let's continue with the level management. The level manager is found at the bottom of the status bar. Clicking on it, we see that the program creates 4 levels by default. We can add more levels, or delete them from here. Let's rename the first level to Roof Level. We will copy the walls and slab from the ground floor to here. I exit the dialog with OK. Using a rectangular selection, I select the walls and the slab, then click on the Level Manager, and choose the Copy Objects to Other Floor command. Select the floor to copy to, and accept with OK. In 3D, we can see the result. Delete the partition walls, as we don't need them here. We also need to modify the slab contour, pulling it back to the main wall line, using the same method as before. Let's change the wall heights to 1000mm. I select the wall, and change the height to 1000mm in the Properties. For all other walls, we use the Copy Properties command. Select the wall, then choose the Copy Properties command from the Quick Access toolbar. From the Element Properties, I only want to copy the wall height, so I select that. I select the floor plan, press Enter, and now all walls are 1000 millimeters high. I will undo the last two steps, because I want to show another option for this modification. Right-click on the building, wall icon and select the Select All option. This way, I can set the height of all walls at once. The next thing I want to modify is the wall materials. Here, by activating the same materials option, I select the coffee cream material for the first material, making the walls coffee cream on both the inside and outside. We should modify the materials in the same way on the ground floor. I use the arrows on the dashboard to switch between levels, but we can also switch levels using the arrows below, or the jump list. Save the project again. Now, let's unify the slab lines in the 3D model. This only works if the surfaces are on the same plane and have the same material. If the 3D view is active and nothing is selected, I activate the Joining Surfaces option on the dashboard. Done. Our next topic is placing doors and windows, starting with doors. I'll go back to the floor plan. By clicking on Building, Properties, Opening, and Door command, we set the door properties. The width should be 900 mm, and the height 2100 mm. By clicking on the flush name below, we can choose from various door types, but now let's use this simple one. Another important thing is that if we place a door in a 10 wide wall, we should set the distance from wall line to 0, so the door will not stick out from the wall. I accept with OK, and we can start placing the door with the Placing Door command. Here, the reference point is also very important. Now it's on the right side, indicated by a green pencil, so I can set the distance of the door from the wall from the right side. I want to place it 950 mm away, so I enter 950, press Enter, and set the opening direction of the door. I want to place the next door in this vertical wall. I switch the reference point with the spacebar, and place it 2700 mm from the top, then set the opening direction. The last door is an entrance door. I will place the same flush door, and then I will show how to modify it. I want this door to be placed exactly at the center of the wall, so again, I switch the reference point with the spacebar. I place it, and set the opening direction. Let's modify the type of the door. I select the door, enter the Door Properties dialog, and modify its properties. By clicking on the flush name, I enter the library, find the indoor, double doors, and choose the flush external double door type. The program asks if I want to keep the previously set dimensions. Then the program loads the door with the saved size, and I change it to the desired size, which is 1400 by 2100 mm. The distance from wall line should be 0. I accept with OK, and we are done placing the doors. Now, let's place the windows. I will show another method for this. Click on the Building, Window, Single casement icon, and select from the styles on the left side. I choose this 1200 by 1501, and then in the Properties, I change the size to 1500 by 1500. Here you can also modify the sill height, but it will remain 900 mm now. I accept with OK, and start placing the window. It is very important to always place the window on the inner side of the wall, so that the handle will be inside, not outside. I want to place it 1000 mm from the top wall, so I switch the reference point with the spacebar. I enter 1000 mm, press Enter. The second window is also placed 900 mm from the top wall. I will place two more windows, the first one 1000 mm from the horizontal top wall, and the other one right next to it. I exit the command with Escape. We are done with drawing the floor plan, and next, we will work in the 3D model. Let's save our work. Switch to the 3D model. In the model, we will not work in axonometry, but will save different perspectives, views. Make sure nothing is selected in the 3D view, then click the eye icon on the dashboard. Our floor plan appears in a small view. If we choose the 2D view, we can see the entire ground floor plan. With this little icon, We can navigate. We can move the entire view with the red square marker, move the viewpoint with the blue square marker, and move the viewed point with the purple square marker. We can modify the angle with the green square markers, which can also be entered using the keyboard. The angle should always be around 60 degrees, and it is important that the height of the camera and the object always be the same, between 1100 and 1400 millimeters. We can save different views by clicking the green checkmark. Let's save 2 views. I can rename these views by double-clicking on them. Let's name them Hall View 1 and Hall View 2. I select the first view and accept with OK. I will immediately see this perspective in the 3D view. If the 3D view is active, we can switch views using the jump list or the small arrows. Let's see how we can place furnishing items in the program. There are several options for this since ARCHLine is an open system, capable of handling various formats of 3D models, such as SKP, 3ds, OBJ, etc. We can place models from the program's built-in library, ARCHLine.XP Warehouse, 3D Warehouse, or download models from other websites either for free or as a paid service, then import them into the program. We find the program's built-in library next to the dashboard, in the Design Center, under Catalog. We find different categories and within those, various subcategories. We cannot expand the main categories, but we can expand the subcategories. Let's see how it works. Let's look for an armchair, type armchair into the search box. I go back to the floor plan, select the element named Care Armchair, and drag and drop it onto the floor plan. This means holding down the left mouse button until I reach above the floor plan, then releasing it, and placing it where I want. Let's see how I can move and rotate this object. If I click on the object, the markers appear. This middle one is the move marker, and there are 2 rotation markers. With this rotation marker, I can rotate by specific angles, and with the other, I can rotate as I wish. I am now rotating the armchair by -90 degrees. I would like to place another armchair just like this one. I click on the armchair, and by clicking on the move marker, I choose to move a copy. I place this one as well. Let's look at the other option, how we can download an object from the ARCHLine Warehouse. We can do this in the interior, ARCHLine Warehouse menu. In the appearing window, you can search for objects and materials. Let's search for an object. I click on the download button, and the program imports the armchair, and I can simply place it. I delete this now, because we don't need it. Let's look at the third download option. This is the 3D Warehouse, which we also find under the Interior tab. Here we have the option for direct download, or download using an external browser. If we download directly, the program automatically loads the object into the program, as we saw earlier. With an external browser, we can download it as an SKP file to our computer, which can be imported into the program later. Additionally, there is an option for direct download with multiple objects. The program then downloads these objects to the library, from which they can be placed later. Now let's choose the direct download. It is important to note that you need an internet connection for this, and you need to register or log into your Trimble account. Here you can search for any object. Let's search for a table. It is very important to pay attention to the number of surfaces of the objects we download. If we download an object with more than 50,000 surfaces, the program will notify us. If we work with too many objects with high surface counts, it will significantly slow down our project and work, so it's worth paying attention to this. We can filter this in the 3D Warehouse, and it is also indicated for the objects. Set the polygon count to show objects from 0 to 50,000 surfaces. Additionally, the program will notify you if an object contains more than 50 materials, as this can also slow down our project. We can also perform more specific searches by name or manufacturer. Let's choose one, and download it. We will need the SketchUp file. I place it on the floor plan. Let's see what sketch mode is, what we use it for, and how. Sketch mode will help us when we download an object from the 3D warehouse that contains other elements we don't need. For example, we download an armchair with a pillow, but we don't need the pillow. In this case, we can use sketch mode to delete the pillow and save only the armchair. I download the MathCool armchair from the 3D warehouse and show how it works. I place it on my floor plan. I switch the view using the small icon on the floor plan. I select this model on the floor plan and choose the interior, sketch mode, open sketch mode command. The program saves my current project, sets it aside, and opens the armchair in an empty project. Here we see that the armchair consists of separate elements, so these elements can be saved separately. I move the pillow aside, and first save the armchair, then the pillow separately. In the 3D view, I use the rectangle selection, then choose the sketch mode, new object command, and select one by one option. I accept with enter, and we see that now it appears without the pillow in the floor plan as well. I name it and save it in the living room, armchairs category. The program asks if I want to go back to the saved project. No, because I still need to save the pillow the same way. Now I return to my original project. Here we still see the old object. I delete this and place the newly saved armchair from the design center. Now it appears correctly, without the pillow. I delete this armchair too, as we no longer need it. The next important thing I want to show is layer management. It is very important for everyone to learn and apply this because it greatly facilitates the work. But what is a layer and when do we use it, and how? Think of layers as tracing paper when designing, where we draw different layout variations, mechanical plans, or electrical plans on separate sheets, and place them on top of each other. This is how layers work. With layers, we can create different floor plans, mechanical plans, electrical plans, and furnishing variations within a project. It is very important to note that the structure of the floor plan and the 3D view layers are not always the same, so it is crucial to perform layer operations on the floor plan. Let's see how this works in practice. You can find the layer manager below in the status bar. By clicking on all layers on the right side, we get the layers that ARCHLine includes by default. Standing on the used layers, we see the layers we are using in a given project. By clicking on all layers, we can create or delete our own layers. However, do not delete layers. It is set here below not to delete the used layers. This is very dangerous because if there is something on the given layer, and we delete it, it is lost forever and we cannot undo it. Let's see how to create a new layer. So, standing on all layers, click on the star button to create a new layer. I would like to apply the same logic as with the interior, bathroom, furnishing naming, so I copy it with Ctrl+C, then paste the name with Ctrl+V, and rename it to interior, hallway, furnishing 1. Similarly, I create a furnishing 2 layer. We can create different furnishing variations, and see how to turn them on and off. I accept with OK, then let's see how to place objects on these layers. We continue on the floor plan. We select the objects we want to place, and can change the layer either in the properties or in the layers. With a few clicks, I transfer it to the interior hallway furnishing 1. It is always worth checking that they have been transferred to the correct layer. We worked well. Let's see how to turn off these layers, because when I turn on one furnishing version, I won't need the other. I go back to the layer manager, and turn off the interior hallway furnishing 1. If I double-click on the small light bulb, it turns gray, and the lock closes. This means it will not be visible either in 3D or on the floor plan, and I cannot edit or reference it. I accept with OK, and we see it disappear from the floor plan, but it is still there in 3D. To make it disappear from there too, we need to rebuild the 3D model with a quick 3D hammer in the status bar. Now it has disappeared from 3D as well. Let's place some more objects from the design center and place them on the furnishing 2-layer variation. Now this one is turned on. Let's go back to the layer manager, turn it off, and turn on the first variation. I rebuild the 3D model, and then we can see the change there as well. We are done. I would like to show you the other 3D model rebuilding options in the program. We have already seen how to rebuild the model with the 3D hammer. However, we also have the option to display only the active level in the program. For this, select the Build 3D Model option next to the 3D hammer, and in the floor plan selection, choose the Custom option, where I only select the ground floor. I accept with OK, accept again, and the program immediately rebuilds it. I switch to a view where it is clearly visible that the upper level has disappeared, and only the active level, the ground floor, is shown. To get the full level back, I need to select all in the Build 3D model. I go back to the floor plan, and want to show the 3D cut, with which we can cut out part of the models. This is also reached by clicking on the arrow next to the 3D hammer. I select the Cutaway 3D, then use the rectangular marking to specify which part of the model I want to cut out. We see that the cut view appears in a separate window, which I can move independently. I place it among the other windows with the Magnify View icon, and this way I can work with it, and easily switch between windows. I can also modify this cut, if I click on the selection rectangle, then use the edge marker to offset, and modify the cut area. I refresh the 3D view, and the cut view also refreshes. There is also the option to rebuild the selected elements in the 3D view. If nothing is selected, and I choose the quick 3D model again, the entire model is rebuilt. This brings us to the end of the workshop. It is also worth saving the project in different phases. If for some reason the file is lost or damaged, do not work in just one file, because as they say, one file is no file. Simple save overwrites our project, but with the file, save project as command, we can save different versions of the project. For example, in case of daily saves, it is worth writing the date behind, so we definitely have a save for each day. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you at the next workshop. Have a great day. Goodbye.